Hello everyone and welcome to the final support race of, or the final CGP3 race of the season. We are here at the Yas Marina circuit in what is set to be a very interesting CGP3 race. Yesterday the title was decided by when Rhys Jeffries finished in second, and with Naranja Sufu in fourth, second was enough for Rhys Jeffries to secure the 2015 CGP3 Drivers' Crown. Now with the gloves off for race 2, he can do what he wants today with the gloves off. He can risk everything, so we may expect a bit more aggression from him, because seeing as he has nothing to worry about now. The championship has been decided. We are almost ready for what is set to be an interesting first race here, second race here in Abu Dhabi. Of course, it's the last race of the season. Everyone will be wanting to end their the seasons that they had on a high. Everybody will be desperate for a good result today. They all will want to end their season as best as they possibly can. Of course, this is just the first of the support build for today, ahead of the big... obviously, we have CGP2, so that's a title to be decided as well, like coming soon after this. And then obviously it's the big one. It's the CRC. Which is of course what everyone is building up to today. Out of all the races we're having today, we're almost ready. Here at the Yas Marina circuit for the final time in 2015. Here we go. Formation lap is underway. It's still quite bright out there at the moment. Of course, it's daytime here in Abu Dhabi. At the moment, of course, the CRC will be held on the twilight. But for the final time in 2015, on the formation lap, let's give you a rundown of the grid. On pole position, it is Ollie Charlton ahead of Jenna Blake, who lines up in second grid. James Wimberley lines up in third ahead of Santiago Fernandez in fourth. Fifth on the grid, it is Naranja Sufu, ending a very impressive season for him. Benny Plutt lines up in sixth with Rhys Jeffries, the champion, in seventh. Daniel McDonald, yesterday's race winner, rounding out the top 8. Alicia Vicini lines up in ninth ahead of Jack Moss in 10th. Alex Chitter lines up in 11th ahead of Pedro Dino in 12th. 13th on the grid, we have Will Sarawi ahead of Aaron Bird in 14th. 15th we have Jessie Jane McFarland with Lisa Temnikova in 16th. Dan Farnham lines up in 7th ahead of Austin Arthur in 18th. 19th on the grid we have Jake Morgan with Corey McLennan in 20th. Ollie Thomas lines up in 21st with Joe Locke in 22nd. Charlie Flynn 23rd, Archie Jones in 24th. 25th we have Claire Chipico. 26th we have Colin Wright. 27th it is Josh Brothy. 28th Chris Gray. 29th Sam Venables, and in the back of it is Dylan Jenkins. It's literally so bright out there at the moment, but we'll cope with that for this race as the drivers line up on the grid. Clearly they've done a little bit of a glitch with the track settings at this time of day for the first lap. Here we go. As Ollie Charlton is in his grid spot. And they've said the formation lap has been restarted due to these issues with the lighting on the track. So, because they say it might be a distraction to drivers. So we're going to have another formation lap. We're going to have another formation lap here in Abu Dhabi. So they will have to do it all again. If it's actually gonna... They say it's good for like streaming, but it might be it might distract drivers. That's what they have said. It might distract drivers from... We will skip to the formation lap now without streaming getting in, because it's okay if we miss a bit of the formation lap. And we're in a bit of a rush to get underway with this. With quite a tight schedule today, of course. Then there's all the promoter activity for the CRC title decider today. For the CRC title championship decider today, which everyone's been building up to. All these races are supporting. Of course, 30 cars. The lighting's better now than what it needs to be. It's still daytime here. But all the drivers have been told to get on with it on this formation lap and just get to the grid as soon as possible. Not here at Abu Dhabi. That was just... But this is what the reason why it's that bright is the track has been designed to look good under day to night conditions, and it's not been designed for actual day conditions. But it's been a very interesting season in CGP3. We've seen plenty of interesting races. I'd say the most exciting race we've seen all season. I believe it, I can't quite remember if it was the first or the second race in Hungary, but I remember it was Rainer. I'll just have a look, so I remember it was Jenna Blake that won that race. Yep, it was the second race in Hungary. I'd say that was probably the most exciting race this season. What a drive from Reece Jeffries, but to get up to second. That was such an exciting race, that one was. Rain at the end, and then Jenna Blake managing to keep control of that car to take the win. Such a thrilling race. Ollie Charlton positions his car on his grid spot. All the 30 cars are doing just that. Here we go. We have the lights illuminate above the drivers, and when they go out for final time in 2015, we're racing. It's not a great start there from Ollie Charlton, but it's a great start from Jenna Blake, who immediately goes up, take the lead. Santiago Fernandez down the inside, straight into the lead. What a start from Santiago Fernandez, as they've all managed to make it through without a problem. But Santiago Fernandez has had to take a tighter line. Jenna Blake trying to get down the inside. But Ollie Charlton not having a good start whatsoever. Santiago Fernandez, what a start, getting down the inside, but then losing out. It is James Wimberley that leads the way. As there's Ollie Charlton still battling it out with Santiago Fernandez. Santiago Fernandez eventually prevails. It looks like they have all managed to make it through without a problem. Got action there behind. This is Yusufu and McDonald battling it out, heading into the turn 8. And it looks like McDonald has prevailed in all of that. This is Dino down the inside, who's also flown off the line. What an interesting start. But Santiago Fernandez really did look like he could take the lead there for a moment. But it's Wimberley who leads. The order has completely changed. Rhys Jeffries has dropped to 12th, but I'm sure he won't care. He's just enjoying this final race. But let's have a look at that start. Ollie Charlton seemed to really struggle off the line. That is what actually happened. Not Pedro Dino we need to be looking at. It's Santiago Fernandez we need to be looking at. I mean, he really... So they get off the line. Charlton really struggles, then he gets down the inside, momentarily takes the lead, but has to take a... He actually has to swipe the wall going into turn 2. He had to do that, because then he would have made contact with the car. Rhys Jeffries behind Jesse J. McPullen in the battle for 11th place. Got action here behind. This is Austin Harper down the inside of Charlie Finn. They battled so hard yesterday, these two did. A bit of contact. Bacchini's had a terrible start, a nightmare, down to 19th place. And that's through on the inside, going Claire Chipico. As there you've got Alex Chittock behind Jack Moss, who's going to go for a move down the inside, and that was an easy move for Alex Chittock. He spent so long behind Jack Moss yesterday, and he wasted no time there. As Santiago Fernandez, I think, is starting to really turn up the pace. Now starting to really come up behind Jenna Blake. But Bacchini having an absolute nightmare. It's all changed, but when they got to turn 1 at the start, there was no contact or anything. It was all very clean at the start. Just so many people got, just like, Ollie Charlton got such a poor start. As Wimberley sets the fastest lap. Santiago Fernandez has beaten that. Santiago Fernandez is currently the quickest on track. As McDonald beats that to a 51.3. Of course, in clear air. But Santiago Fernandez, I think, is looking quite menacing there in 3rd place. Of course, in his last CGP3 race before he goes to CRC next year. After being signed by SpeedTech. He's looking very racy now behind Jenna Blake in the battle for 2nd place. Is he going to be able to send one up the inside here? Not quite. Battling here between Danny McDonald, who's trying to make a move as well on Ollie Charlton. He's not quite able to do it. Daniel McDonald seeing if he's going to have another look down the inside. Not quite. Battling in between Shenton, who got sent to the back of the grid for causing a collision with Austin Harper yesterday. Up into 29th. Concini got ahead of Flynn. She started 9th, but is now down to 18th after that nightmare start that she had. Benny Plutt now behind Pedro Dino. As Blake still trying to reel in James Wimberley. Of course, James Wimberley making up for 12 months ago what happened in last year's race in Abu Dhabi, where he got taken out by Miles Hanawin from the lead when battling for the lead. Oh, very crossed up from Jack Moss at the exit. Could put him susceptible to Jesse J. McPartlin, who's going to have a real lunge down the inside. That was a great move there from Jesse J. McPartlin to take 10th place. A real opportunistic lunge. He just got very crossed up. And then that was a typical, because we know how aggressive Jessie can be on the brakes in particular. We've seen in all the series she's been in this year. And that was just a typical move from her. As this is Danny McDonald trying hard to get past Ollie Charlton once again. They're side by side. Ollie Charlton is able to defend the position. Rhys Jeffries is now behind Jack Moss. As Benny Plutt gets down the inside of Pedro Dino. For the moment, as we're on lap 4, we've got 10 laps to go. It's kind of a real end-of-term feel to this race, isn't there? Of course, it's the last time that these guys and girls will be racing in CGP3 this year. Of course, we do have a CGP2 race coming up where the title is going to be decided. Which, if anything, considering the grid is going to be just as close to the CRC. And then, of course, we have the CRC to be decided. Now, as well, Jack Moss and Jesse J. McPartlin going all at it now, going up towards the chicane. Jesse's got the outside and really runs him out of road there. I think Jesse just got a bad exit when getting distracted by those two D-techs of Yesufu, putting off a great move there on Shittuk. And now that's put Jack Moss susceptible to Rhys Jeffries, but still not leaving Jesse alone yet. But now Rhys down the inside of Jack Moss, and he has made that move stick. And Sarawi gets round as well. Still waiting to see if Santiago Fernandez is going to be able to do anything in this lead battle. Now Jack Moss is losing positions left, right and centre. He's got Aaron Bird down the inside. And then that is Lisa Temnikova almost going into the wall there. And that is Chipiko finding a way through. Austin Harper now right behind. Not seen any moves this weekend at this corner yet. What an interesting first 5 laps we have seen here in Abu Dhabi. Now Rhys shaping up his teammate McPartlin. And McPartlin gets a very bad exit off the final corner. And he's going to try it round the outside, but Jesse has the inside covered. He's going to try it, but then oversteers. That's not the best line through there. Of course, CGP's last weekend in all series with Coca-Cola sponsorship. Look at how close he's getting to Jesse. Fernandez still waiting for that opportunity to get past Blake. McDonald still frantically trying to get past Charlton. As Jeffries tries to get past McFarlane, who gets a very bad exit, but then Jeffries runs wide. Into team battle we're seeing here. Fernandez still very close to Jenna Blake. Sarawi down the inside of Jeffries. What an interesting race we're seeing at the moment. There's Shituk having a look down the inside of Yasufu. Really forceful there from Shituk. And we've lost Jake Morgan from this race. What happened to him? Oh, he'd spun. He just lost it. All by himself. A disappointing end to a disappointing season for him. He's had a very disappointing year this year, has Jake Morgan. He was so strong last year. In that LAT, but this year has just been such a disappointing year for him. That is kind of, that summed up his season really. Still, Santiago Fernandez trying to make an inroad. As Jeffries having a look down the inside, getting to the hairpin. And now Jeffries is really close, heading up to turn 8. He's not quite able to do it. Yep, Santiago Fernandez is struggling to be able to make any inroads on Jenna Blake. But I think if he passes Blake, then he can catch up to Wimberley without a problem. As there you've got in the background, that's Jeffries down the inside of Sarawi. As they're all just still funneling their way through. Santiago Fernandez having a look down the inside of Jenna Blake, and he's done it. Fernandez takes second place. And Charlton, I think, could get through. There's contact there between Blake and Charlton. And Charlton has spun it. That Ollie Charlton only has himself to blame for that, because he moved around on the braking. Fernandez now can go after Wimberley. So, lap 9 and 14 is Santiago Fernandez. He has cruised up to the back of James Wimberley, as McParland defending from her teammate Reese Jeffries. Santiago Fernandez. Looking back from James Wimberley. He's going to try what he did to Blake again, but he's not quite able to get it done. So, 5 laps to go. Can Santiago Fernandez take the lead from James Wimberley in his last CGP3 race? Yasufu gets ahead of Dino. Both Chittup and Yasufu managed to get ahead of Pedro Dino, who seems to be struggling for pace now. Now he's got 2 CGP5. As Jeffries gets down the inside of McParland. Exactly what McParland did to Jack Moss. Now Santiago Fernandez. Can he do anything in the battle with James Wimberley? There's 5 laps to do it, so it is certainly doable. As Daniel McDonald, I think, who's had his best weekend of the season, catching up to Jenna Blake. He'll be pleased with this weekend, will Daniel, to end his season the way that he has. Broffi is out. By the looks of how his car is in the... Yeah, suspension problem. Did he have contact with anyone? No, I think it just cut out. So there are the leaders. Lap 11 of 14. Yasufu makes a mistake at the final corner. Reese Jeffries trying to catch up with Pedro Dino. Santiago Fernandez needs a good entrance, a good line into that chicane. Needs to really stay with James Wimberley. Down the straight. Of course it's down the straight where the car tends to slide around a little bit in CGP3. Is I think Fernandez could send an optimistic one up the inside here. Are we going to see any other moves? I don't think we are in the top 10 or any. Anyway, Jenna Blake is looking, or Danny McDonald's looking very racy behind Jenna Blake in the hyperspeed car. Santiago Fernandez trying really hard to see if he can get past James Wimberley. Hoping to end this season as well as he possibly can. So, lap 12 of 14. Got a bit of change. That is Jeffries getting down the in, passing Pedro Dino. So close. So how did this take place then? It was a very optimistic lunge there from Jeffries, who went wide. Dino tried to get the exit, but he wasn't quite able to do it. Fernandez, now right behind James Wimberley. He's going to pick his moment. He's going to try to pick it. He's going to want to pick his moment as good as he possibly can. This is the second year running that we might see some change in the last few. That's Wimberley in the lead and that Wimberley has led the final race of the season. Of course, we all know what happened last year. Of course, last year, James Wimberley was driving an Avuto. Could he possibly go up to CGP2 next year for James Wimberley? He's had a very impressive year, has James. Last year he had a lot of bad luck. He just couldn't find any reliability in that car last year. So many wins lost from the lead. But now, he's had a lot more luck this year and he's been in the championship fight. Penultimate lap of the race. Santiago Fernandez still trying to see what he can do in the battle for the lead of the race. Can he get past James Wimberley? I think this could go right down to the final lap of the race, maybe in the final corner. Pedro Dino is being caught up by Jesse J. McParland. Is Santiago going to be able to make the move? I don't think he's going to be close enough this time around. So, unless he does it at the final corner, it's going to be all final lap or nothing for the Silver Speed driver. The GMS Silver Speed driver. He knows he has the pace. Because in this car, it's very hard to get a slipstream. As Santiago gets up behind, gets a very bad exit of the final corner. That could really compromise him. James Wimberley still leads the race. But this has put him out of the dirty air going into turns 2 and 3. And you can see him getting ever closer but he had to back off on the exit. I think that's going to really compromise him. But if he can take a good line going into the chicane and also get as close as he can into the hairpin, then if he can get the exit, he could have a look. I don't think it's going to happen down towards turn 8. I don't think it's going to happen. But if he can get a good exit, maybe up towards turn 11. You've got a bit of action here behind here. You've got Rhys Jeffries getting up behind Naran Yusufu, who's not having his best race. Benny Plutt versus Ollie Charlton. And I think Benny might have done it. Yep, Benny Plutt's done it for 5th place. It's not going to be enough going into turn 11 for Santiago Fernandez. This is where there's a lot of battling taking place. There's Benny Plutt able to defend from Ollie Charlton. Santiago Fernandez just making a couple of mistakes, which has dropped him back when it mattered most. As Santiago Fernandez I don't think he could maybe go for a lunge in the final corner of the race. He could do what he did to Jenna Blake, but I don't think he's going to be close enough for that. It is going to be James Wimberley who's going to make up for last year. It is James Wimberley who is going to take victory here in Abu Dhabi. Wimberley wins the sprint, the second race in Abu Dhabi. Santiago Fernandez takes 2nd place. Jenna Blake ends up in 3rd with Danny McDonald in 4th, Plutt 5th, Charlton 6th, Chishock 7th, Yusufu 8th, Jeffries 9th, and Dino gets the final point in his debut weekend. Something happens to McParland in the end. Yet we lost McParland from this race. Something happened to her. See what actually happened to her. Oh, she went off. Going into the final corner. There was a bit of a block up. The yellow, of course, we couldn't see because there was no yellow flag. But it is James Wimberley who takes victory. In the first race of the day. What an interesting race. That is the end of what really has been an interesting CGP3 season. I think this also might secures James Wimberley 2nd in the drivers. A very interesting race to end the season. That ends a very interesting season. A lot of these drivers, where next for, you can say, where next for them? You can say, where next for them? Because you know Santiago Fernandez is going up to CRC. A very interesting race that we've just seen. But in the terms of the final championship standings, Rhys Jeffries, obviously he secured it yesterday, is the 2015 CGP3 champion. Of course, he secured that and made that official yesterday. So he had basically the gloves off for today's race. He had nothing to worry about in terms of a championship to win. And of course, where next? I think probably we're going to see quite a few of these drivers move up to CGP2 for 2016. We're going to see quite a few of these drivers move up to CGP2. There are a lot of drivers who definitely deserve to make that jump. Now in terms of the constructors, Racing Factory have moved back ahead of CGP in the final standings. But they're now just preparing for the final podium of the 2015 CGP3 season. As I said, I think we will probably see a lot of these, quite a few of these drivers move up to CGP2 next year. Of course, it'll be the British and Spanish national anthems that will play. For James Wimberley and the Racing Factory team on the podium. Side. Of course, also coming up we do have the CGP2. That is a title that is going to be decided. Here we go. Time for the podium.
This weekend, mate.
Time for
the podium. Absolute joy, man. I've enjoyed it.
The first podium of the championship deciding Sunday in CRC. Third place onto the podium, it is Jenna Blakes, 5 for speed. Second place onto the podium, Santiago Fernandez for Silver Speed. And the winner, James Wimberley. And for him and the Racing Factory team, it is going to be the British and Spanish national anthem. As the trophies are about to be presented, now it's time for James Wimberley to collect his first place trophy. Good drive from James. Now it's time for Santiago Fernandez to take his second place trophy. Good drive from Santiago. And now it is time for Jenna Blake to collect her third place trophy. So Santiago, really pleased with his efforts. Now, of course, we do have CGP almost immediately coming up after this. That could be an interesting one. You do not want to miss that. It's now time for you can't say busy with the filling because it's bottom quarter, but it's time for the drivers to get busy with the bottom quarter here in Abu Dhabi. It is James Wimberley who is victorious in the final race of 2015. Well, that puts an end to the 2015 CGP3 series season. Thank you very much for watching any part of it. What a season it has been in CGP3. Reese Jeffries is your champion. Of course, we've got CGP2 coming up very shortly indeed. But as far as CGP3 is concerned, we will see you in 2016.